Yeah, stretching. March 8th, 2022. Welcome to the Rantcast teaser. Right now it's coming to you across YouTube. So do us a solid and like and subscribe. I used to love... did you ever see Private Parts with Howard Stern?
Yeah.
I used to love that half of his listeners were haters. Mm-hmm. You know, the other half... But both of them listened to him to see what he says next.
Right.
You know, you laugh, but things like that, I connected to that prick and the characters on the show back in the 90s. Because for a second, you think it's like real or genuine, you know? But that guy's such a lefty, I can't stand to see his face. You know, here's the movie, and the moral to the movie is his great relationship and love for his wife. And then by the time the movie was released, he dropped her on her ass for somebody half his age. Allison, you know?
Yeah.
Hate that shit. You know what else I hate? Have you heard this new thing out there? They're talking about Florida is passing the Don't Say Gay bill.
No.
You didn't hear about that?
No.
Oh, that's effing huge. Let's see if I can find it without killing this off with what it actually is. And I don't know if I can do this and keep it recording, but let's see if I can anyway. If not, we'll be right back to you. So, the media spun it this way, and now you've got all the lefties just raking in the cash cha-ching, working and playing the lesbian and gay communities. So anyway, here's what the bill actually says. And while you're listening to this, if you agree with this crap or don't agree with this crap, I really didn't give a rat's ass about gay or straight, or really didn't want to know what it was or what sex was until I was about in the 4th grade. When I was a kid, there was an article in a magazine about Elton John, who married a really hot model and then got divorced. And he said out loud, I don't care if I marry a girl or a guy as long as I'm happy. I'm 9 years old, going, good enough for me. That guy's music's great. Saturday night's all right for fucking fighting, huh, guys? You know? The bill really says, parents, your right to raise your children does not end when they walk into a classroom. This bill recognizes that parents are not the enemy, Republican Senator Danny Burgess said ahead of the 22-17 vote on Tuesday. The bill simply says that there should be an age limit on certain discussions. It's not a new concept, nor is it radical. And there's your facts. The rest is just spinach and all this. I don't know why you have to have heterosexual guilt, white guilt, male guilt, Republican guilt, Christian guilt, and wrestling guilt. You know? I see these people, and I'm a live and let live guy for the most part, Casey.
Yeah.
You know, I bitch and blow off steam, but my thing is definitely to get through it so I can be positive after I've worked it out.
Right.
I vent. But I don't give a fuck what the fuck you're doing if it doesn't fucking hurt me. I don't care if you fuck fucking olive loaf. You know what I'm saying? If that's your fucking kink. I don't care. As long as you're not fucking my olive loaf that I'm going to eat for lunch. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just as an example. You know, so... Yeah. This stuff is just ridiculous, you know. I sent you 2 pictures. Of course, in true Casey James fashion, you fucking no-sold it. What, do you remember the first picture I sent you yesterday?
Was it of the Young Bucks?
But the Young Bucks, yes. I'm not a Young Bucks fan by any stretch of the imagination. But what did it say?
They saved tag team wrestling.
They saved tag team wrestling. Wow. Now, save tag team wrestling for certain people, that's fine. The problem is that with all that clutter, what happens then is you get all these imitators. First of all, neither one of those guys looks like a wrestler or believable or like they could take you in a fight. Second thing is, they don't really look like they could do much damage to me. Young Bucks, if you're feeling froggy, leap. And they certainly aren't fucking young. now that they saved tag team wrestling, so the gimmick is kind of redundant. Regardless of what you hear, Vince McMahon, WWE, was never interested in those idiots. They had some moderate popularity in Japan. Certainly a far cry from your Stan Hansens, from your Ricky Steamboats, from your Bruiser Brodies, from your Funks. They're not real wrestlers. They even state, they're the ones that say that stupid shit about, that's the beauty of indie wrestling, basically, is the fact that the spots get fucked up. You know, and come see it and support it and defend it. Did you ever see that shit, the defend indie wrestling movement?
No.
It turned into support indie wrestling, but it used to be defend indie wrestling. And what was funny about defend indie wrestling was it was a turnbuckle. You know, now all the indie guys I know outside of this place and the real professional companies, they wouldn't know what a turnbuckle fucking looked like. Those indie tards never set up a ring. That's what made me stop booking them in the first place back in 1998 when I started booking my own shows. You know, like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? You know what I mean? And then once again, you know, yourself, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, The Rock, all tore down rings and set up rings. They all cleaned the chairs at OVW when it was a feeder. They all served weenies, took the trash out, swept, vacuumed. That's all part of it. It always has been.
Yeah.
You know? And the defendors, or the saviors of indie wrestling, the Young Bucks, if they would have broken in Japan, even today at one of the dojos, they certainly wouldn't have risen to the fact that all these people would call them the saviors of tag wrestling. You know, they were wiping butts with a sponge and carrying bags. You know, even in Puerto Rico, Casey. When I was supposed to go there, book for Carlos in '89 or '90. I knew two guys that went there. They actually moved there from Chicago. I'm not going to mention their names because the one guy, as a human being, is the salt of the earth, and I don't want to embarrass him, even if he doesn't ever hear this. They actually went down there and moved and stayed on their own dime trying to get booked.
Wow.
The one kid even fucking was the bitch at the condo. He was sweeping and cleaning and cooking.
Uh-huh.
And he finally gets booked. And he goes out there and he fucks up and he actually pulls his pants down with his balls out after doing the job in the opener where they were taking a look at him and got shit canned immediately for mooning the crowd, thinking that's going to really get him over.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? But anyway, the point is about the dues paying. The other guy was down there being probed, fondled, poked. At the time, he was really, if he hadn't have left the industry because he got fondled by Victor Quinones, he would have been one of the saviors of the industry. Real goofy bastard. And that's all he was Victor's boy toy. You know, as Victor tried, first he kept him down there for 4 months and lived with him. God only knows what he did to him.
Yeah.
And then he started shopping him around to Vince. Vince saw him one time and said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know? But point is, now today everybody's a wrestler and everybody gets a participation trophy. You know?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, which is fine, but the reason it bothers me is because it hurts people like me. I'm going to go ahead and say nobody in this fucking country carries on their back the responsibility I do to run every week. Even your guys that, by appearance, run every week don't take on the responsibility, the risk. They don't. They got no heart. They have sponsors. They have people that they work to keep the doors open. First of all, I don't want those. I don't want to attract those because what ends up happening is you look like shit because there's strings attached to everything. You're listening to someone who was there when Mike Lima killed himself because he quit his job to go to work for XWF, No More Prima Donnas. And also I was there telling Dixie Carter to her effing face, can't develop talent out of a dumpster. We can't continue to do business this way or we're going to be done. I predicted our futures and what happened. You know what I mean? And I put a lot of time, energy, and things that people can't even imagine into both of those.
Yeah.
I know what Tony Khan's made of, you know? It's just a joke, you know? Your boy, you like Chavo, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's go ahead and close this thing out now, and hopefully you guys will subscribe to our Patreon to get this podcast and about 400 matches that you can't get anywhere else on our Patreon. Premier Pro Wrestling on Patreon. And again, like and subscribe. Pro Wrestling Tees, we don't pimp it enough. It makes me sick. Our talent, my partner that's supposed to be handling it, they don't do it enough. We got some really cool individual designs, company designs on Pro Wrestling Tees. Visit our store on Pro Wrestling Tees. So what I wanted to close with was this, and God bless his heart for still being relevant. Chavo Guerrero, I didn't send it to you, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
I'll, when it pops up again, I'll send it to you. I don't save a lot of things when it comes to that stuff. You worked with the guy, and you had a relationship with Chavo when you were working for World Wrestling Entertainment. We'll go ahead and talk about him a bit and delve into the Guerreros. But, on the podcast, on Patreon, when you subscribe after we're done here. But this is how Tony Khan does his business. Again, this is a man that said 6 weeks ago, or at least less than 8 weeks ago, that's the difference between me and Vince McMahon. When people come to work here, they know they have a future. Well, you just go ahead and follow Chavo Guerrero on Twitter and tell me what reason he'd have to lie at this point in the game and see how Tony Khan doesn't employ people for life. And that's a guy with some name value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just that, but the fact that the guy had to find out he was shit-canned via the AEW website and the Smart Marks knew before he knew. And this is somebody that, when Tony first got into this, when he was awestruck by him, he was a nut swinger for Chavo. After he realizes, I can hire Sir William Regal instead, all of a sudden Chavo and the friendship don't mean dick. Same thing with Cody. You're going to see at the end of the day, it's going to come out. The saviors of tag team wrestling fucked Cody Rhodes, who sold them to Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Please, again, like and subscribe. Premier Pro Wrestling on Patreon, where we'll be talking about Chavo and probably the Guerreros. Yeah, stretching. March 8th, 2022.